karma, is to feed the Shudras.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
There's more Shudras than all the others put together.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if you're going to have Brahmins using their intelligence to make things happen, and Kshatriyas to make sure nobody steals it from you by guarding the border, then you have the Vaishyas working the land. No businesses, no shops, just working the land. Prabhupada put it up, no nonsense. Said, oh yeah, and the Vaishyas are businessmen. Prabhupada said, no nonsense business.
No nonsense. But actually, I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada yesterday, and he was talking about one devotee was saying, we can buy farmland and do business. Prabhupada said, no. First of all, you become self-sufficient yourself and have for your devotee community, then think about anything else. Otherwise, everything will be spoiled because you will be doing business.
Oh, yeah. So could you repeat the concept? I was listening, but I'd like to hear it again.
So one devotee said, Prabhupada, we can buy some land and we can cultivate the land and sell, make some money. Prabhupada said, no. First of all, you become self-sufficient, have enough ghee, make sweets for the deities, for the devotees, not you do business. And you made the point that no, greedy Vaishyas.
Nonsense business.
No nonsense business. So Prabhupada was extremely against this nonsense business because the disciples suggested buying some land and doing some business. And Prabhupada said, no, it will be spoiled.
They're all thinking how to make money.
Right.
With money, you buy a car, a stereo, electric lights. That's what you need money for.
Right, right.
Then you buy plastic toys for your kids. But if you have Varnashram, you make your own toys in the Varnashram.
Yes, Prabhupada, directly shot that idea down.
The thing about children is, whatever you give them, they accept it.
Yes.
So that if there's women in the Varnashram society, and they make dolls, and the men make little trucks, or not trucks, but little ox carts or something, and toy oxen, the children will accept it.
Right, right.
They accept anything you give them. Now they will only accept plastic.
Yeah, all my child's toys are plastic.
Yes. Well, my daughter, 10-year-old daughter and 11-year-old granddaughter, they watch Netflix, which is just garbage. It's like they're teaching girls to become sex workers through the videos.
Wow, yeah, that's
Yeah, they're not that sexy, but it's all body conscious. So these are all for tweens, children, tweens, and teens. Tweens are like almost reaching puberty.
Yes. Crazy.
And so they're just leading them because, in one, I've made this joke, and good God, what's happening here? I've made this joke about women, and I got that joke actually by reading a book, when my picture went away.
Yeah, you made your picture go away, or did you click on something? Let me try to fix this.
I don't know, what can I do? Oh, wait.
Start video. Just click. Hey. Yeah, there you go. You're back.
Very well. Okay, so I read a book. I read nothing but classical literature until I was 12. All the great 19th century writings in the English language I read, plus historical books and stuff that went back to Greek and Roman times. By the time I was 12, I'd read everything I could get my hands on. I began reading modern literature. I was horribly shocked by what people were thinking and doing, writing modern literature.
Right.
So anyhow, one woman there, she was a prostitute in the story or in the narrative or interview or whatever it was. I don't remember if it was real or fictional. And she said, actually, all women are sex workers.
Huh. What does that mean?
Depends. Yeah. Married women will work, offer sex in exchange for a home, children, clothing, and safety, protection by their husbands, etc. And then prostitutes go on the street and sell sex. But it's really the same thing. The prostitute in this story said, actually, the prostitute who sells her body in the street or in a whorehouse is better off than the housewife because she has more variables and more alternatives in how to lifestyle. But what she misses is Dharma. In Dharma, the woman is not just selling sex. Sex is the key to any mammalian activity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
What else could be the key? Mammals are based on reproduction.
Right.
End of story.
End of story.
Yeah, because I mean, the mammals. So the question is, what does the female get in exchange for sex? Well, look at dogs, look at wolves, look at sheep, look at cows, and bulls. And you see, there's always some elephants, giraffes, zebras. There's always some sort of exchange that the male is doing something, not just wandering around, snapping his fingers, being a bad guy from the hood, but the tiger, the lion, they all have specific duties according to gender.
Right, right.
And anytime a female mammal has children or cubs or whatever you want to call them, puppies, kittens, whenever she has that, she needs to be protected. Because what happens if a predator comes? They will kill the kittens and eat them.
Right, right.
So somebody has to be able to protect the household in every species. So it's not that the human being is different. The human being is taking that nightmare of endless birth, death, disease, old age, from the microbes up to the demigod level, all the way through every species. The human being is able to come through the aboriginal human being, through the primitive people, through the slave, through all the different, statuses of human being, to the Vedic standard. When it comes to the Vedic standard, it means at that point, he can reproduce just like a cat or a dog, but dharmically.
Dharmically.
Yeah, because it leads to the realization of the self-realization as being the soul.
Right.
Whereas the animals are not thinking like that. The animals are 100%, 100%, as Prabhupada would say. The animals are 100% committed to their mind having identified, the jiva's mind has identified with that body, and there's nothing is going to dissuade it. Now, of course, there's all sorts of crossovers, just like Jad Bharat became a deer, right?
Right.
And there's crossovers like your pet dog at home. You don't have one, thank God, but your pet dog at home.
Lakshmi is joining, Prabhu.
Huh?
Lakshmi is joining.
Hare Krishna.
She's not joined yet, but she will be joining in a few minutes. And in a few
wonderful.
seconds. Jai.
That's
Hare
wonderful.
Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna
I
Prabhu.
Lakshmi Prabhu, please
How?
accept my blessings and my humble obeisances.
Jai.
Yeah.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All
Thank you.
glories to Srila Prabhupada. It's good to have you
Okay.
back again. I must apologize to you and to several billion other people on planet Earth that I had to stop recording and doing these Iskcon for a while because I was moving into a new place to live and it took all my time. But now I'm moved and I can spend every evening if possible and we can work together again.
Definitely, yeah. And I'll be blessed for that.
Have you been able to listen to, now you know Ronald Singh, right?
Yes, yeah. One day when I was joined, even he was there. He was there.
He is, but he's no
Yeah.
longer Ronald Singh.
Okay. Then?
He is Ramachandra Singh.
Oh, that's really nice name he got.
If you think of the sound vibration, Ron or Ronald, it's a nice sound, Ron or Ronald. But
Okay.
Ramachandra Singh, and remember the Sikhs, of which the Singhs were Punjabis, I guess, right? And
Yes.
the Sikhs started out by Guru Nanak started out by worshiping Lord Ram.
Yes.
Okay.
Jai.
Mm.
So Krishna has graced Ramananda Singh with
Yeah.
the name not with Ramachandra. Not on what am I saying?
Ramachandra
Ramachandra Singh. Yes.
Singh. Yeah.
Actually, my name was confirmed by another devotee. His name is Jai Narayan Das. And
Your name?
yes, he was
Okay.
writing to me. He was writing to me, and then he said Ramachandra. Then he said
Okay.
Maharaj. So in that way, Narayan Prabhu confirmed it first, and then Jai Narayan Prabhu confirmed it next. So it was a very mystical experience because he did not know anything about Narayan Prabhu getting the name and giving it to me. And then he said,
I was at the best transparent.
Jai. So
I had nothing to do with the name. The name came to you,
Yeah.
and that's what happened.
so
Definitely.
it's wonderful. Jai. Okay, so can we start now, Prabhu? Or
Certainly we can.
okay.
We have somebody else there, but again, without a video.
Oh, that's me. I'm on two phones, so that's why.
Oh, I see. And Lakshmi,
Yeah.
you don't want to be on video, perhaps?
She's listening, I think.
Yeah, I was having breakfast. I'll just be back in 2 minutes, 1 minute.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
As you like. You're the deity, the demigoddess, so you get to do what you like.
No, no, don't say that, please. I feel no. Yeah, but I'll share for 5 minutes and I'll take off. Yeah,
No
I'll be
problem.
back.
No problem. Let's see. Let me get this thing situated here.
Unlike the human beings, the demigods, can you imagine Lord Shiva talking to his consort? He says, why do you talk so mean to me? Isn't that abusive? No, because he wouldn't talk mean to her. She's the Shakti. He will never talk mean to his Shakti.
That's a very good point.
Oh,
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Haribol.
Lakshmi Sahasa Satasamraman Sayyidinam Govinamari Purusham Tamam Bhajam.
Me. Today I'm on leave, so luckily I got chance to join this meeting.
Oh, you're on leave. What
I
wonderful.
taken sick leave. Yeah, I was not feeling well, so I thought of let's take leave and rest.
Ah, that's good. Yeah, try. So we have been
By the,
discussing. Go ahead, Prabhu. Narayan
by
Prabhu,
the
you're going
way,
to say something.
is there any way, Ramachandra Prabhu, to send out like a mass mailing saying tonight, 7 o'clock, we're having this session, please all join, like that, and have 20 people or something like that invited.
Ah, I can. That's what I do. I have a group that I send it to, but uh, you know, Facebook, I have 25,000 subscribers or something like that. So this is better because in this way, people all across the world can see it's live and they can
Yes.
join like this because.
Well, you do it your way because you're the tech
Uh,
genius. I'm not the tech genius.
no problem. So, Narayan Prabhu, maybe you
If
can.
people ask me, do you know anything about computers? You say, oh, yes, I learned when I was a child. But we called it an abacus.
What does that mean?
Abacus? It's
Yes.
the way the Chinese count with beads on a machine.
Yeah.
That's
that.
a computer. That's also a computer.
Mm.
You know, digital. But they did it long thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
They still do it.
Uh-huh. So
Adding
let's start.
Okay,
Prabhu,
let's start.
So let me share
starting-
the. Let me share the screen, Prabhu. So you
Are,
can
oh, yes.
talk
Are
in
you
the.
going to explain to Lakshmi Prabhu what we are doing with the text of the Falgun Krishna Panchami?
Yes, Narayan Prabhu, why don't you explain? Then I'll find the link and share it on the screen so she can see it. So let me just do that, and you can talk.
Well, Lakshmi, are you familiar with the Falgun Krishna Panchami?
I'm sorry?
Prabhupada wrote in 1969 a document which was perhaps, what can we say? It was like it's like suppose you get a CPA into your office and he does an accounting of your business and sees if all the numbers are in order. Well, Prabhupada did that with his godbrothers to see if their spiritual life was in order in 1961. And now we're doing that in a few sessions since you've been with us. We are also doing that. We're doing a what can we call it? An accounting of the Iskcon movement, and we have concluded that the Iskcon movement is satisfactory in so far as it has gone, which is simply to create kanista adhikaris, or to bring people hopefully to the point of becoming kanista adhikari. Although we have to say, probably not more than 15 or 20% have become kanista adhikaris, but they're all practicing on that platform, aham brahmasmi.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually become realized as a kanista adhikari is pretty tough deal. And we're including the gurus in that group because it says right there in the Upanashamrita, the nectar of instruction, that the Kanista and Madhyam Adhikari also can take on disciples, but they are on the same level as their disciples, and the disciple cannot make much advancement under their insufficient guidance. Therefore, take the Uttama Adhikari. And Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Gaurkishora Swamiji, and Thakur Bhaktivinoda, they're all Uttama Adhikaris. Since that time, we have not noticed any Uttama Adhikaris anywhere, unless it's Shuddhananda's found one or two, but I doubt it. So that's what we're doing. So should I quickly, without any commentary, read through these up to number, what are we on, 9 now?
We're on number 9. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do this so that Lakshmi will understand. But in 1961, Prabhupada was living in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, gazing out to the window between the Bhajan Kutir and the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami. And as you know, Lakshmi Prabhu, Rupa Goswami is a manifestation of Rupa Manjari, who is a Shakti who takes records in the Krishna Loka of the pastimes and the bhakti that is being generated by limitless entities in Krishna Loka up to Radharani. So she is delivering this along the way to Vishaka, Lalita, and then to Radharani. And it's more complicated than that, but that's the basic structure. And Radharani then is able to bring that entire cauldron, that entire scope of bhakti, of multifarious, generated by gazillions of devotees in Krishna Loka, up to offer to Krishna. And that is actual Krishna consciousness. Okay, so Prabhupada was there, and he wrote this poem basically as like an accountant. He's taking an accounting of the Gaudiya Math. Okay, you guys been in business for so many years, decades. Now let's see what have you got to show for it. So he's taking the accounting. So this is counting, and it sounds quite negative in many ways, because what they did was garbage for for most of the time. You know, it's nice that they were chanting, etc., but it wasn't what Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta had in mind or did himself, and it was not what Srila Prabhupada had in mind. And mind you, in 1961 is several years before Prabhupada came to America. So he had no track record of doing any better than his godbrothers.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's not the great person who's written printed millions of books. He's just a retired man, sannyasi, sitting in a bhajan kutir in Vrindavan, who can probably just keel over and die there one day, and they'll put him in a samadhi.
Right.
End of story. But anyhow, that's not what happened. We, Lakshmi, you, me, all of us had the great fortune of Prabhupada's explosion, Hare Krishna explosion, as Hayagriva put it, in America. And it transformed everything until the gurus decided, the GBC decided to create an organization that had nothing to do with Iskcon that Prabhupada wanted. And that's a whole other story, and it's black and white. The writing that Prabhupada gave is in black and white, literally. Black and white means printed, and it's printed. You can read it, and you know what he wanted. And they have never, ever been able to explain why they rejected Prabhupada's teaching absolutely indirectly at the beginning. Prabhupada introduced in 1970. By 1971, they had basically rejected the whole idea that Prabhupada had given them.
Okay, Prabhu, let's start.
Yeah, we'll start, yes. So the first Vaishistha, he writes, this is the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which in our calendar was about 2 days ago.
Right.
He said, and so we're celebrating or grieving, I should say, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance. And this is how Prabhupada wrote. And take into account that as he wrote, his heart was broken. Just take into account that as he wrote, it was not, oh, da 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 da, Mary had a little lamb, da da da, that's my poem. No, his heart was broken. And you'll see it in the term of in how he writes. And we've done 9 Vaishistha. I'll try to get through them quickly without explaining anything. And then we'll continue from there, because we're making this so that it can be utilized to understand Iskcon, not just the Gaudiya Math, but in 1961, but Iskcon in 2021. Okay, first Vasistya. On that day, in pain of separation, oh Lord, I was grief-stricken, unable to tolerate being apart from my spiritual master. On today's auspicious occasion, to offer you worship, I have come with this offering, remembering your lotus feet. Mahaprabhu's principal conclusion is that renunciation is prime. Not only that, but it is to be distributed to everyone. And I will not add to anything there right now, but I will say that it has been already published with, and I've given insights and explanations which make it clear in today's 2021 world, not simply 1961 world. He said, not only that renunciation is prime. Not only that, but it is to be distributed to everyone. Renunciation is to be distributed to everyone. The Neophytes have no ability to make any solution, but you are Mahabhagavat, and you have given us direction. And I clarified direction isn't like to right or to the left, there's the post office, there's the train station. Direction means vertical, how to go upward with the Bhakti Lata Beach. You are Mahabhagavat, and you've given us the direction of how to go back to Godhead. Bewildered by ignorance, what kind of renouncers can they be? They are simply false renouncers, giving up externally. Real renunciation comes from transcendental feelings, meaning no material feelings. Without such feelings, a renouncer is known simply as show bottle. And I explained that the word show bottle in the 19th century, Macaulay is this language. Show bottle is in the pharmacy or in the perfumery. It's a bottle, they're very big, and it attracts the minds of the people that want to buy the product or women that want to buy the perfume. They say, wow, that's a wonderful looking perfume. But the bottle is actually empty. And they go into the store, then they buy the real perfume in a very small bottle because it's very expensive. But the show bottle is the bottle that just shows what the product, if it were full of that product, it would be worth millions of dollars. You see, it's huge. Very big, gallons of perfume. Okay. Without such feelings, transcendental feelings, a renouncer is known simply as show bottle. But there is another show bottle, which is preaching as its purpose. The Lord Sannyas, which is the defeat of the impersonals. And I did point out that the show bottle sannyas means in the form of sannyas, he can preach Krishna's message in such a way that people think the sannyas is talking, whereas Krishna is speaking through the sannyas, as Prabhupada said, make me dance like a puppet. So the sannyasi is like a puppet uttering the words of Krishna, or Krishna is uttering his own words through the sannyasi, and that's why it's show bottle, because the sannyasi looks like a human being, but is actually just a vessel by which Krishna is using to preach. But there's another show bottle. Oh, I read that. The Lord Sannyas, which is the defeat of the impersonals. Can we move upward a little bit? Ramachandra? Yes. Lord Chaitanya's teachings are beyond Varnashram Dharma. And I did point out that Varnashram Dharma is to cultivate material attributes, pious, karma, to go to higher planets. Varnashram Dharma. We're going to make Daiva Varnashram Dharma, which will be 100% spiritual, Iskcon. But this term, Varnashram Dharma, Prabhupada talks about, is material for elevating people to the heavenly planets. They are Bhagavad Dharma, Lord Chaitanya's teachings are beyond Varnashram Dharma. They are Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavat means pertaining to Krishna only, not according to how to advance yourself in this world and get a better birth in your next life. And destroy all cheating processes of religion. And why cheating processes of religion? Because the religion tells you that you have a soul. The Christians, the Jews, the Muslims say you have a soul. That's cheating. Because on the basis of you having a soul, they will save your soul and then take your money, make you go to their church or their mosque or their synagogue, and you have to do all of those things and create a whole community around the religion. And that's why he says cheating processes of religion. Because the religion, and I did mention in the previous, yesterday or day before, or yesterday really, that Prabhupada says that the Bhagavad-Gita is the postgraduate study of religion because it's spoken by God or Krishna directly. So all these other religions, the cheating processes of religion, are all spoken by people talking about God who never tell you anything about God. All they say is God exists and he's going to smite you with his fist if you don't obey me. If I'm Moses, if I'm Muhammad, or I'm Christ or something, oh, you have to obey. But that's the cheating process of religion. We only need to obey Krishna. And let us just say, for the sake of the argument, that if Jesus were personally present, he would be worshiping Krishna in our presence. He would fall down in front of Krishna if he has actually existed at all, and if he actually was a person who was on the highest platform. If, I say if with a very big if. Now we're on 9, performing dry renunciation, preaching will not be successful. Yukta Vairagya is the essence of all Chaitanya philosophy. So the idea of going into a renounced state, sannyas, sitting in a hut, even in Vrindavan, sitting in the Bhajan Kutir in Radhakund, or just sitting in the forest like a yogi, that's not successful. Yukta Vairagya is the essence of all Chaitanya philosophy. And Ramachandra, can you explain Yukta Vairagya? Hello? Ramachandra? Lakshmi?
Yes, we're here, Prabhu. I'm here.
Did I hear, can you explain Yukta Vairagya?
Yukta Vairagya is a principle where you utilize whatever is favorable to preach Krishna consciousness or to utilize in Krishna's service to its maximum capacity. Like Srila Prabhupada used airplanes, he used printing presses, he used Lakshmi, he used dictaphones, he used typewriters, he used big buildings, he used churches, he used cars. So everything can be utilized in Krishna's service, provided you know how to utilize it.
Precisely. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Jai.
And then Prabhupada in number 10, the sannyas that I have given you is for preaching and devotion. The atheistic sense enjoyers are bewildered in understanding.
You can ask questions also, Prabhu. That was a very nice question you asked. So in this way, there's more, you can test our realizations of and our understanding.
Yes, or you can jump in with both feet.
No. Yes, spontaneously.
I don't know what you want to say. The sannyas I've given you is for preaching and devotion. The atheistic sense enjoyers are bewildered in understanding. So I believe with quotation marks around it, the sannyasa I've given you, is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's words speaking.
That's a good observation. I never would have thought of that. Right.
Well, because otherwise it's Prabhupada talking, and why would there be quotation marks?
Right.
And then Prabhupada says, the atheistic sense enjoyers are bewildered in understanding. So the atheistic sense enjoyers and or the dry sannyasis who are not preaching in devotion and have no desire to distribute pure unalloyed love of God to the human race, as is our joyful mission to do for the next 10,000 years, they're bewildered because they don't know why the sannyasi is renounced and nonetheless walking amongst people, sitting in front of them, distributing prasadam to people. Why is he doing all of those things? When he's a renunciate, he should just be quiet and say nothing and go nowhere. Does that make sense, Ramachandra?
Yes, Prabhu, makes sense.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, the sannyas I have given you is for preaching in devotion. The atheistic sense enjoyers are bewildered in understanding. So we can see that if you look at the philosophy or what Srila Prabhupada has given us and the present day sannyasis, they have a bewilderment in understanding of what Srila Prabhupada wanted. And according to them, they're preaching in devotion. So, how would you understand?
Well, let's just say it's a mixed bag. I like to say that the purpose of Iskcon, the way it developed, with all its good and bad parts, like bad part being unelected GBC, bad part being gurus claiming to be the only way to go back to Godhead, rather than Prabhupada directly. All of that they've come up, and the sannyas, but the Iskcon sannyasis are preaching. Yuktya Vairagya preaching, they're not meditating silently the way the Mayavadis do, or the way many people do when they are selflessly trying to perfect themselves through sannyas, so that they will go and merge with God or go back to Godhead or whatever it is they think they're going to do at the end of their sannyas lifetime. So what you brought out is, yes, they are doing both at the same time. I would prefer just to say, yes, they're doing it, but they're doing it clumsily and in many cases badly and in many ways harmfully. But nonetheless, they're still trying to create for themselves and others the destiny of becoming Kanista Adhikari, or neophyte devotees. Put it this way, if these sannyasis were Madhyam Adhikaris, it would be an electrical situation. Where would you find such people? What would they be like? It would be almost impossible to encounter them. And I've met some sannyasis, which I think they were, becoming tinged by the Madhyam mood, but they had not yet become Madhyam Adhikaris. So Madhyam Adhikari is the step which Iskcon gurus have not yet achieved. So when it says in the can you quote for Lakshmi Prabhu, either from the text or just ad lib, what Rupa Goswami said about the in Shloka 5?
Yes, 1 second. Let me pull that up, and I'll read it. So it's from the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, and this is the last paragraph where Srila Prabhupada is describing who can be a Diksha Guru, what is the qualifications of a Diksha Guru, and what happens if you do not have a Uttam Adhikari Diksha Guru. So it's very important to understand. So Srila Prabhupada says, and I'm reading the whole paragraph, the last paragraph. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari. So one must know the distinguish between these three levels. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttam Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls into Vaishnavism. One should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttam Adhikari. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on an intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform. And it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttam Adhikari as a spiritual master.
So, Lakshmi, do you see that we're able to follow that reasoning?
Yes.
Okay, so therefore, I would say in a very kind and generous mood that the Iskcon gurus are on the Kanishta Adhikari platform. They are certainly more advanced than the neophytes that join the temple, and they are more advanced, but are they able to, how much advancement under their, what Prabhupada describes as insufficient guidance can these disciples make? There's no trickery in this language. It's very straightforward and plain. It's not as though there's some way to read it and to say, oh, well, they are real gurus after all. There is another way of seeing it. No, this is what Prabhupada said, and it's very clear, very simple. So Iskcon has created and is creating the Kanishta Adhikari platform, after which, when more advancement takes place, hello?
Yes, more advancement takes place.
When more advancement takes place, oh, someone's trying to reach me by phone, but I don't think I'm going to take it.
No.
So anyhow, so in Iskcon, if everyone comes up to the Kanishta Adhikari platform, then I would say this Krishna consciousness movement is a glorious success.
Okay.
Why? Because how many people on planet Earth will ever be able to get out of their maya, out of their sin, out of their self-destruction, out of their intoxication? Because remember, Kanishta Adhikari means following the four regulative principles. So
Right,
who is going to be able to do that without Iskcon? They cannot, because there's no teaching to guide them why they should do it. So Iskcon is perfectly competent to introduce deity worship, introduce books about the higher platforms than Kanishta Adhikari, the Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Iskcon is quite capable of introducing this, but they have not accomplished yet. We do not find the Kanishta, the Madhyam Adhikari in Iskcon, or if there is one, he's pretty well hidden. Certainly there's no Uttam Adhikari, because if there were, that Uttam Adhikari would be drawing in millions of people all around the world simply by his opening his mouth and smiling and opening his eyes and speaking. So that would be there. When I first went to India, I said, well, maybe I'll meet some more Uttama Adhikaris like Prabhupada, the pure devotees. We didn't call them Uttama Adhikaris at that time, but pure devotees like Prabhupada. Because, I mean, it could not be possible that he's the only one, I thought.
Right.
So I started looking around, and I found all sorts of, people with esoteric knowledge and all sorts of stuff. I didn't listen to them because I had a principle, which is a word, very good principle, to only listen to your spiritual master, not to listen this way and that way to this guy and that guy. But I was paying attention to who they were, not listening to them. And it became clear to me that they were not even really respectably Madhyamadagories. Mostly they're what Prabhupada criticizes, the dry philosophers who are simply at the lowest level pretending to have advancement. So at least our Iskcon gurus are not usually dry philosophers. They discuss Bhagavad Dharma and stuff like that, so that's nice. So the thing is that so I looked around for the Uttama, then something hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, wait, this Sampradaya is coming from Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya came to preach the holy name, to distribute the holy name to every town and village. If there were another Uttama Adhikari, he would be distributing the holy name to every town and village.
Right.
My brother Bhakti Madhurya Govinda Goswami recently passed away, and he had sent me a few years ago to myself and my then wife Rupa Manjari Prabhu all sorts of quotes from Srila Prabhupada on World Sankirtan. And in those World Sankirtan, he is constantly talking to his disciples, saying, well, Tamal, you will go there and take a group across Europe and start so many people chanting, then open a temple, go to the next place, start so many people chanting, open a temple. Well, that stage is past. We have a lot of temples now. This was back in 1970, starting from the London, astonishing London event where the Hare Krishna mantra using Prabhupada's melody became the #1 hit in the British hit parade and lasted longer than any Beatles song had ever been on the hit parade. So Prabhupada was like capitalizing on that idea that how somehow or other he was going to start the World Sankirtan party like that. But everywhere he talked, he was talking about this World Sankirtan. So it occurred to me when I went to India that absolutely it would be impossible for anyone following in the footsteps of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was an actual pure devotee, and the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Where is his World Sankirtan? Where is his preaching hither and thither? And I realized if it was there, I'd know about it. Why? When Prabhupada preached, everybody knew about it. When Prabhupada went to India, all India knew about it. Because his preaching was so external and so powerful. So if there's another Uttama Adhikari like Prabhupada, well, let's see. Where's his preaching? Where's his town? Where's his village that he's preaching in? And actual fact, there was zero when I was there in 1971. Nothing. Nada.
Right.
Okay. So do you want to go back to the verses, or do you want to stop for now?
If anyone has any questions, they can ask. If they're watching on YouTube, they can also ask. So I'm watching the chat on YouTube, and if they have any questions on Facebook, they can also.
You don't want to do any more verses? We only did one tonight.
Oh, Yeah, we can do more, Prabhu. Let me load it up once more. So
Yeah,
I
sure.
clicked on something and it
But
turned it off.
Lakshmi, unfortunately, I don't see you, of course. But what do you think?
She's hearing.
Do you like all of this? From the Iskcon
Yeah,
point
we
of
can do the
view,
second.
go ahead, Prabhuji. Now,
I mean, we can go for the second one. It was actually good. I didn't know so many things, so it's nice. We can go
Jai.
on.
so Ramachandra has commented, but you know who has not commented tonight is you. Is there anything so far you want to comment? Or when I read the next shloka, maybe you would like to comment on that?
Yes. About Vairagya, I had wrong understanding.
Yukta
So
Vairagya.
recently, yeah,
Go ahead.
Yukta,
What was your
I did.
understanding?
So
What?
recently, yeah, like Vairagya means what I thought, like, we should not enjoy with, the luxuriness of life. Like, we should not spend lot of money on things like, whatever it is, like car or dress or any personal things. So I was like, I had a wrong understanding, but now recently also I came to know, and now it confirmed, like whatever we do, that we do with the Krishna consciousness. So that is not harm, or that is not, yeah,
Yes.
that's not, that there is nothing wrong in that, but the consciousness what we have should be clear. So that's what I
Oh,
learned.
that's what Prabhupada just said in Shloka 9. For whom
Hmm.
enjoy renunciation, preaching will not be successful. Yuktya Vairagya is the essence of all. So you've just announced Yuktya Vairagya.
Right.
Jai.
Lakshmi Prabhu. Okay, can we move up the scale a little bit past number 10?
Jai. Now we're there. Number 11.
Okay, how about one not?
Prabhu, your sound went away. No, none, Prabhu. You're there? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, is that okay now?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yes, I can
Yes,
hear
yes.
you now, Prabhu.
Yeah, but now I don't have the shlokas.
You don't have the shlokas. Why don't you? It's
Because I'm
I'm sharing.
depending on Ramachandra.
No, Lakshmi Prabhu, can you see the slokas?
Yes, yes, I can.
No, Prabhu, you should be able to see the slokas, Prabhu. It's being shared.
Try
Um,
and share again, share it maybe.
Let me share it again one more time. Let's see. Let me stop the share and let me share it again. Let's see. Share screen. No, share screen. Then go to. I was gonna share website URL. Narayan Prabhu, are you there? Can you see it now? Is Narayan Prabhu here? Let's see. Participants.
He's on mute. He's
Okay,
speaking.
he muted himself. Okay, ask to unmute.
Am I?
Narayan Prabhu, unmute yourself again, Prabhu. Ask to unmute. Okay, Narayan Prabhu, unmute yourself. Click on the
Okay,
screen.
here it is. Okay,
Yeah,
are
there
we
you go.
okay now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me change the to Vashishta 10. You wanted Vashishta 10, right? And 11 is there. Second Vashishta.
Okay, I think again he went on mute.
Narayan Prabhu, I cannot hear you. You went on mute again. I think you don't click on the screen, Prabhu. You should not click on the screen. I'll do the controlling from my side. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Now, but I can't see it anymore.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Don't click on anything. Don't touch anything. I'll reshare the screen so you can see it. 1 second.
I'll do my
Stay
best.
on. Okay,
I'll
Prabhu.
avoid
1 second.
temptation.
No problem. Just don't click on anything. Share. Let me share the link. Website
If you
URL.
are using mobile, I think you need to scroll the screen to right or left.
Okay, now can you move it? I have the screen. Now can you move it upward? Okay, good. Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
can you move it down one notch? Because your picture's on top of it.
Oh, I see. My picture is there. Okay, 1 second. So let me put it more like this. There you go. You should be able to see it now. Can you see it,
Are
Prabhu?
we on?
Number 11.
Okay, we had already read number 10. The sannyas
Yes.
I've given you is for preaching and devotion. Atheistic sense enjoyers are bewildered in understanding.
Yes, we have read that one already.
Now we have progressed to the second Vaishistya.
Yes.
Number 11. The sannyasis go and stay in the mountain caves, but you, master, keep your sannyasis in marble mansions. This is again back to the sense of what is sannyas. The sannyas that Prabhupada is talking about in reference to Bhaktisiddhanta is a sannyasi who preaches and chants loudly in every town and village. And then he writes so in the second Vaishistya, number 11, the sannyasis go and stay in the mountain caves, but you, master, keep your sannyasis in marble mansions. And so, why in marble mansions? I don't know how many marble mansions they had, but let's just say they had some marble mansions, because the ordinary man, the materialist, the neophyte, the aspiring yogi, the aspiring guy that wants to become a guru of some sort, the Mayavadi, they all want to be attracted. They see the marble palace, marble mansion, they come to hear what that person's going to say. So that is show bottle again. You show off the marble mansion not to be rich or conceited or materially attached or full of oneself or puffed up. You have the marble mansion so that the ignorant population will come flocking just to be able to be allowed into the marble mansion, where they will then hear what? About marble mansions or about gold and wealth and beautiful women? No, about Bhagavad Dharma in the marble mansion. So that was the purpose.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada says, we don't need big houses. We can preach from anywhere, but to attract the common masses of people who are so much attracted to buildings, structure, all this, he made temples, wonderful temples, big temples with deities.
Yes, and so that's very wonderful. And it has created the Iskcon Kanista Adhikari movement.
Yes.
Now our job is to describe the Iskcon, not to condemn, but to describe the Iskcon Kanista Adhikari movement, and then start planting the seeds in the fertile fields that are protected by the fences of the four regulated principles. We're going to plant the seeds of how to advance beyond, how to utilize Kanista Adhikari to the full degree, meaning preaching every town and village, and how to advance from there to the Madhyamādhikari. That's our job. That's our duty. And shall we say, that's our mission. That's what we're doing. That's it. This is it. This is what we're doing. So, on number 12, to see a sense enjoyer's face is just like drinking poison. But you, Master, are giving your darshana here and far away in foreign lands. So this again is the question, and I will try not to get too far into it, of the contrarian nature of Bhaktisiddhanta, which he was given through Diksha to Gorkashore Das Babaji, the ultimate contrarian, meaning everything wrong, everything the opposite, everything ridiculously bad. You know, the way he did everything according to Vaishnava standards, no, don't do it that way. But yet no one could argue that he was an Uttamadhikari because he showed all the symptoms. Oh, there are some foolish people that may have thought. It's like Sukadev Goswami came up to was running along with he had long hair, was tangled up it was in ecstasy, falling into the bushes and getting snags in his hair. The men and boys would chase after him, throwing rocks at him just to torment him because they were ignorant. And the men and boys would urinate on Sukadev Goswami. So he was staggering there, covered with dust, totally naked, tangles of branches and thorns in his hair, staggering along the road as an Uttamadhikari. And he came up to where Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Brahma, Vasudev, his father, and all the demigods are sitting there. Great saints are sitting there by the side of the Ganges. And Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit has only 7 days to become perfected in knowledge. And they cannot figure out, amongst all of them, including Brahma and Vasudev, what should they be done in order to get Parikshit Maharaj. He'd been poisoned by a snake bird, a whole other story which we'll get into, but he'd been poisoned to death to die in 7 days. So here's Sukadeva Goswami, 16 years old, peed on, covered with scratches, dirt, goop in his eyes, tangles in his hair, comes into the assembly, and everyone in the assembly, all the demigods and sages and saints, all stood up to honor him. Never mind what he looked like, what he smelled like, anything like that.
Right,
who cares?
right.
Who he was, they stood up. Except one person. And Lakshmi, do you know who that one person was?
No.
You don't know? No, nobody knows. You have to study the Srimad Bhagavatam to know. So Ramachandra Prabhu, who stood up? Did not stand up.
His father,
Huh?
Vyasadeva, no?
Yeah, Vasudev, because it's his father. And the father does not stand up to honor his 16-year-old boy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sort of amazing, huh? You don't see my picture, do you? You just see the screen, right?
I see your picture.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. So anyhow, so Sukadev Goswami was there. So this honoring a person who does not appear to be worthy of honor is the same category as Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. He's a great saint, beyond human saint. He's a liberated Paramahansa, Mahabhagavata. His body is simply an incident to his existence, not a house for his body. Himself is not in the body. Its body is just an extra to who he is. And he was a contrarian, did everything backwards. He initiated Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati under considerable difficulty. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as strict as he was, and as educated as he was, as pukka as he was, probably the greatest, undoubtedly the greatest intellect on planet Earth at that time, he also became a bit of a contrarian, doing things differently. And then when Prabhupada came to America, he empowered Prabhupada, who was so sweet and nice looking and gentle, fatherly, grandfatherly, anything you want to say. Whatever he said, whatever Prabhupada was, his main thing, and it was only recently, after decades of being his disciple, after decades of being his disciple, it finally dawned on me, of all the three contrarians, Prabhupada was the greatest contrarian, because he did everything against the rules. Oh, we followed the four regulative principles. Yes, that's nice. We chanted Hare Krishna. That's nice. But what else did he do? He initiated meat-eating people who were born Malacha meat-eaters who do not know their gotra they descended from. He initiated them to become devotees. And then he initiated them later to take Diksha as Dvija, Brahmins. And after that, some of them, he made them into sannyasis. And these are people that could not be tolerated, just like Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Krishna Panchami, that you don't want to expose yourself to the lowly people who are not devotees. You avoid the association of non-devotees. When I met the Gaudiya devotees in Krishnagar, there they were, and they would just sort of like try to hide and become invisible. They walked like monks, and they kept their beads hidden, and they chanted quietly to themselves, but they were trying to avoid being seen or seeing the non-devotees. But Prabhupada went out amongst the non-devotees and turned this raw material of homosexuals, of people that were wild with women, more than Jagan Madai, and women that were not chaste. They were living with their boyfriends, not married, and maybe sometimes a series of boyfriends, not married. They did all of those things, and Prabhupada turned them into chaste wives. And then a couple of years later, sent them to England, where they set an example for the whole world of world sankirtan. You see? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You're still here. Okay, good.
Yes, we're still here, Prabhu. We're listening. So
yes, so he took these people that were unworthy, made them into pujaris. He got Shyamasunder to carve Jagannath deities. And
right.
Shyamasunder still smoked cigarettes, so he used to park his cigarette on top of Lord Jagannath's head while he was carving deities. And they said to Prabhupada, is that terrible, no? No, it's sort of like, he'll get over it eventually, and he did. And he became a very outstanding devotee. It was Shyamasunder that created the notion in India to start Pandal programs. We have thousands of people in a big square, city square. And he put up, hundreds of pieces of Pandal cloth, and 5,000 people would come and sit in chairs.
That was Shyamasunder Prabhu's idea, huh?
Yes. And he also had the idea Prabhupada was saying, how can we make things, Shyamasunder was saying, I want to go back to America. This is not doing very much for me. It's not exciting. And Prabhupada said, well, what do you think would be exciting? So why don't we fly a helium balloon with Hare Krishna on it, advertising our program? So they did. They got a big helium balloon, not like the Goodyear balloon, but a big advertising helium balloon with the Mahamantra on it and words indicating there was a program in Chowrangi Square in Calcutta. And what did they put in Chowrangi Square? A big pandal. Mm-hmm. It was a complete transformation of the whole idea.
So this pandal program thing, it was not an Indian thing?
Oh yes, it was totally Indian thing. But we weren't doing it.
Oh, okay.
it's expensive and it takes you have to get permits for the square. And there's a lot of things you have to do it.
Yes.
Because you don't
Wow.
just put up a tent in the square. You cover the entire square with a tent. So to give the idea, so Prabhupada being contrarian, he did all of this. I'm pointing out that I'm pointing out that Prabhupada did everything wrong from the Vaishnava point of view. It's considered to be an offense to initiate someone who falls down afterwards. You have to go to your godbrothers weeping and begging and lying and prostrated in front of them for their forgiveness for having initiated an unworthy person to become a brahmachari. But Prabhupada had thousands of devotees initiated and then leave. So this is contrarian, against the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And gloriously so at that.
So Prabhu, can you, let's see, we have a question. So if you can, before we end, we can take that question. Do you want to cover some more points here?
On which shloka? Well, it says, I'll repeat this. 12, to see a sense enjoyer's face is just like drinking poison. But you, Master, are giving your darshana here far and away in foreign lands. And remember, this was written before Prabhupada went to America.
Yeah, this was written in 1961.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. The only person that went to a foreign land was, what was his name? From Vrindavan. What was his name? I forgot his name. I forget. But in the end, Bhaktisiddhanta practically cursed him. He took all the money that was sent to him and lived on it big, and then came back with a big savings account and built a institute for himself there. So, Bon Maharaj.
Bon Maharaj, yes, Bon Maharaj, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Bhaktisiddhanta took the contrarian view that the sense enjoyer's face is not like drinking poison, because you're going amongst these poisonous faces and making them into devotee faces with shaved head and tilak, where it has beard and bad breath and ugly looking with long tangled hair and not bathing. Turn that into brahmachari that looks like Prahlad Maharaj.
Chai.
That's pretty amazing, no?
Yes, amazing.
And then I might as well continue with 13 because it really predicts Prabhupada's own movement. Malachas and Yavanas are not allowed to enter Hindu temples, but you, Master, make them the chairman and sit them in the assembly. Well, that's what Prabhupada did. He took Malachas and Yavanas and made them temple presidents. He took people who were beef eaters and made them into devotees.
Jai.
Hard to imagine. And then he said, to cross the ocean is not allowed for Hindus, but you send your devotees across the ocean. And that's before he went across the ocean.
Right.
I think I could leave it at that. If you want to have more questions.
Yes, one devotee named Christopher asked a question, and let me see if he's there. Christopher Prabhu, we have talked to Christopher before. I think he was, he showed us his altar. Srila Prabhupada was present, and he, I think, was in Berkeley sometime.
Oh, can we get his picture, his photo up, his image up?
Well, I asked Christopher to join, but he's, I think, a little busy tonight. So he said he's listening on YouTube.
Okay.
He said, I'll listen from YouTube for tonight. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
He asked a question. Christopher asked a question. What did Christopher say? Yes, Christopher asked. One second, Prabhu. I'm trying to make this bigger. Christopher asked. He said, his name is Christopher Allen. Could you briefly touch on what proper kirtan is? Is it only melodies that Srila Prabhupada used? If so, how many are there, and what amount of variation is acceptable?
Okay, that's a very good question, a very sincere question, but it has within it a hint of doubt also.
Yes.
Variation.
Yes.
I tend to be observing the Vaishnava role of the disciple as being, when you accept your spiritual master, you don't accept 90% of the spiritual master, or you don't accept 20% of the spiritual master. You don't accept seeing the spiritual master. Oh, I met Prabhupada. Yeah, that's I met him. He was very nice. I liked him. Yeah, that was cool. It's more profound than you think, even like that. But it's not like that. When you take initiation, when you take Diksha from a pure devotee of the Lord, you give your life to that person. And you accept everything he says without question. If you have questions, you should ask the questions before taking Diksha. And if they're not satisfactory to your, if the answers are not satisfaction, then don't take Diksha.
Right.
But if you are satisfied with the answers, then say, this person, this Uttama Adhikari, this pure devotee,
right,
I accept him as my life and soul. So what am I going to add or subtract to such a person? If he says one thing, I accept it. If he says something mistakenly, I accept it. Why? Because the pure devotee is not free from saying things that are perhaps not philosophically erroneous, but maybe he said, oh, we were in Chicago and actually in New York. So what? He's not a mathematician. He's not a calculator. He is a preacher. And I'm not saying that I ever heard Srila Prabhupada make any mistake, even on the material subject, which I didn't ever hear him make a mistake. But I've heard from Prabhupada that even if the Uttamadhikari does make a mistake, even in writing, that you accept and honor that mistake in the writing, even though it is a mistake. So to answer that question about the kirtan, he chanted, I would say fewer than 10 melodies.
Acha.
And the one which we know the best, of course, is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That one, that melody, as far as I'm concerned, will be the lead melody for World Sankirtan. But he also chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. And just a few melodies. But we don't need to add to it. Narottam Das Thakur sings. It's a melody of Hamsadutta wrote. I'll sing his words to it, Hamsadutta's melody. In Prabhupada's translated English. Hare Krishna comes straight from Krishna Loka. But with chanting I have no connection. Day and night I'm burning in this dark world without working to make no correction. So Narottam Thakur, who is in a position to know more than me, more than any of us, Hare Krishna comes straight from Krishna Loka. Well, how does it get here? Hare Krishna comes straight from Krishna Loka. How does the Hare Krishna mantra come from Krishna Loka? Well, the only person I am aware of that brought the Hare Krishna mantra to me from Krishna Loka was Srila Prabhupada. Now, can we say that Bhaktisiddhanta chanted other melodies? No doubt he did. Thakur Bhaktivinoda other melodies? Probably so. That's not my business. I'm not the disciple of Bhakti. I am the eternal disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he's not my Diksha Guru. And Gorka Shodas Babaji, who on earth knows what he chanted? Or if he used melodies, who knows? Doesn't matter.
Right.
He's not my Diksha Guru. And Bhaktisiddhanta, certainly he had other melodies that he chanted and taught, but they might as well not exist because he's not my Diksha Guru. So, whose melodies do I accept? Those of my Diksha Guru, who is, and always will be, birth after birth, Srila Prabhupada. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my Diksha Guru. So whatever he did, that's what I do. Now you might say, well, isn't that a little too fanatical? And you could say it could be fanatical. But remember, Thakur Bhaktivinoda lived in a different era where people talked with different accents. If you speak Hindi or Bengali today, you're speaking in a different way that they spoke 200 years ago.
Right.
Or 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. It's all different. Why? Because it's a different time, a different place. We've used that phrase before regarding Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Atmarama Shloka. Different time, different place, different person. So that distinction that Prabhupada wrote in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, I cannot tell you, he said, when Ramananda Roy wanted to hear the exact shlokas, what can you tell me exactly how you spoke to Ramananda, he was Ramananda Roy, how you spoke to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I cannot. And Ramananda Roy was heartbroken. He said, why not? He says, because that was a different time. It was still within a few years, if not sooner. It was a different time, a different place, and a different person. So what does that have to do with us chanting melodies from this Gaudiya, from that group, from Ramakrishna, from Bollywood? What? No, we have to take what we got in our time and place, not some other time and place. Does that make sense? The chanting that we hear from Prabhupada, that we can hear him chant, and on recordings we can hear him chant also. We have to see it here in person. That is the gift of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, in case you didn't know, is blue, plays flute, dances with Radharani in Krishna Loka. They, Radha Krishna, have gifted you and me with the sound vibration coming from Srila Prabhupada. At what point am I going to add or subtract to that? If I say add or subtract, what am I really saying? Pissing on the divine thing. It's gorgeous thing. Excuse me, Lakshmi, sorry. I can't see your face. I forgot there was a lady present. I will not tolerate to hear mantras chanted, the Hare Krishna mantra chanted as though they were from Bollywood or a Chinese movie film, which they do, or Bengali fishermen, or Ramakrishna, or Gaudiya Math even. Because Gaudiya Math will be coming from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Is he my Diksha Guru? No. He is my grand spiritual master. Do I worship him? Yes. Would you give your life, lay down your life for him? Yes. Is he my Diksha Guru? No. Prabhupada is my Diksha Guru. And that's why this whole mess with the Iskcon Gurus is a whole mess with the Iskcon Gurus.
That's a very good point, because there are so many gurus. Everyone is confused.
And everybody's chanting any damn thing.
Yeah, exactly, and the whole thing is blown out of the water. And what can I say?
Now there's something I should touch on, and I'll try not to have a stroke or a heart attack in the middle of saying it. And that is, there's the shloka, which is is part of the Shastakam, right? That there's no hard and fast rules for chanting the holy name of Krishna.
Christopher mentioned that, so you were answering that. I didn't even say it.
Okay, so there is no hard and fast rules for chanting the Mahamantra. But what does that mean? Hard and fast rule. Certainly we don't prohibit someone who has never taken initiation from chanting Hare Krishna to Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's their choice. I'm not going to stop them.
Right.
And even if an initiated devotee chants some bogus thing, I can't stop them. But I can advise them. And I can say, when Lord Chaitanya said no hard and fast rules for chanting, he was coming out of breaking open the storehouse of pure, unalloyed love of God. He was breaking open the storehouse of love of God, not listening to Bollywood movies and borrowing a tune from them. And what did that mean? It means those who were chanting in the inner sanctum of the temples did have hard and fast rules. And they were not allowed to chant to anyone like you and me. We would not be allowed to hear that mantra. Lord Chaitanya said, I can't keep it a secret. I am going to broadcast it everywhere. That he took on himself. It was a sin that he took on the sin himself. But the sin was, people like us are not allowed to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Until Lord Chaitanya said, Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gurdashe Namo. He broke open the storehouse of love of God. And when he broke open the storehouse of love of God was like an ocean trapped inside of the walls of that storehouse. And when he broke open the storehouse, the ocean of the holy name, Bhakti, pure unalloyed love of God, flooded the land. Flooded the land. And Prabhupada said, and those who were devotees, they drowned. And those that were not devotees, they floated. So no hard and fast rules means devotees had the first chance to hear. They were not allowed to hear the Hare Krishna mantra. Only certain initiates were able to hear. So regular Vaishnavas, not like you and me, we're not even Vaishnavas, we're product of the contrarian Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, we could not be Vaishnavas. We don't know our Gotra, for God's sake. Maybe Lakshmi does, but I don't. We take on the gotra of the spiritual master, so we all have Prabhupada's gotra. And so here we go, that nobody is qualified to chant the holy name. Now suddenly, Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Sri Radha Krishna in one person form say, go to every town and village and preach to chant Hare Krishna.
Mm.
That means no hard and fast rules. Who do you preach to? There's no hard and fast rules. Who you preach to. But if you chant to someone using a melody that you did not hear from your spiritual master, then you will take a lower birth. Well, you've already taken a lower birth in this one lifetime. It's a lower birth to do that. Why? Because you've rejected Prabhupada. If you don't chant what Prabhupada chanted as he chanted it, he's your spiritual master. You've rejected him. If you don't accept the direction of management and decide that GBC is not supposed to be elected, you've rejected him. When you open temples in a giant worldwide corporation instead of individual corporations, you've rejected him. When you sit on a Vyasa-san saying, I'm a successor to Prabhupada, you've rejected him. That's the bad part about the Iskcon gurus. The good part about the Iskcon gurus is they're chanting Hare Krishna and they can't do very much harm sitting on a chair.
No, they can do a lot of harm. I mean, they did a lot of harm. That's why they have what's the William Turley case.
Yes, they did. But I'm talking about in principle.
Okay.
In principle. In principle, they can do no harm. Just like, just like, you know, yes, of course, I am being very kind, you know.
Yeah, I'm not very
extra.
kind.
I'm being a little extra.
I'm not very kind.
Oh, I will bless you to become kind. Because when we say that the Iskcon gurus have not done any harm, of course they molested all the children.
Yeah, that has to be right.
Brahmins. How do you destroy a Brahmin? Brahmin boy. How do you destroy a Brahmin boy? There's only one way to destroy a Brahmin boy, who is being trained as though he were in the ashram of Sandipani Muni to become a great acharya like, oh my God, what's his name? Krishna's friend.
Whose friend?
He brought the cracked rice to
Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva. What?
Dhruva Maharaj, no?
Not Dhruva.
Built what?
Oh my God, I forgot his name. Anyhow.
Huh.
Was it Dhruva?
Built what, Prabhu?
Anyhow, his wife sent him to see Krishna because they had nothing to eat, and took some chipped rice, and then Krishna and then came back.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
chip rice. Yes.
yeah. But in any event, that's not the main point. The main point is that if you have this, was it Sudama Maharaj?
Sudama, that's it. Sudama Maharaj.
So you have a Sudama Maharaj in Sandipani Muni's ashram, and he grows up and he becomes Sudama Swami, or householder, but he's a pure devotee. You take a little boy and put him in the Gurukula to become like a student, like Sandipani Muni student, and you molest him. You take away the one thing that he has of value, and that is his chastity. From that point onward, it cannot be rectified.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see how many of them became great devotees afterwards.
Very, very, very few.
Yeah, I could say, well, what about people like us? We did all sorts of nonsense and we became devotees. That's different. We're talking about boys that are born to be Brahmins.
Vaishnavas, yes. Pure
Yeah,
devotees.
Vaishnava Brahmins. Vaishnava, very good distinction from them. They're born to be Vaishnava Brahmins. And then to molest them is to destroy them. So they did that. But still, I'm saying they did no harm because in all, Iskcon is still there. In all, people are still chanting Hare Krishna, even god-awful melodies, and jumping up and down like monkeys. And all of these things, it doesn't matter because they're trying to become Kanista Adhikaris. And whoever's not chanting a Prabhupada melody, it's going to take a long time to become a Kanista Adhikari. Whoever is jumping up and down like a monkey or dancing white elephant, to put it more politely, is going to take a while to become a Kanista Adhikari. But that's the goal, to become a Kanista Adhikari. Kanista Adhikari means you're sinning, but not the four basic regulator principles. You're not sinning against meat eating, gambling, whatnot. But sinning in other ways. But that is okay. Let them do it because we have come to bring the next layer. What we're discussing now with the Falgun Krishna Panchami is our Falgun Krishna Panchami, where we are bringing our own God brothers to task, the way Prabhupada brought his God brothers to task. So I can say you're doing fine, but then Prabhupada in a later shloka in the Falgun Krishna Panchami says, in the matter of businessmen, you are accumulating disciples. Well, we can say that for sure.
Yeah, Iskcon.
But that's not what I'm focusing on right now. I'm focusing on Kanista Adhikari. We must go beyond Kanista Adhikari. Frankly, a lot of the Gaudiya Math people, with their big aspirations, had not really even become Kanista Adhikari. Probably most of them, but I mean, they followed the four regulator principles, but they were not good at deity worship. When Narayan Maharaj was discovered by Patita Pavana, the astrologer, his deities were terrible. When Prabhupada went to stay with his godbrother Keshava Maharaj, his deities were not that good. And when they went to visit Puri Maharaj, the older Puri Maharaj,
Pramod Puri.
huh?
Pramod Puri.
Pramod, the older one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. His deity worship was not good. So Jamuna went in and started doing the deity worship. Puri Maharaj freaked out. Oh, he wouldn't eat any food that she cooked. Puri Maharaj wouldn't. Why? Because it's cooked by malachas.
Actually, Puri Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada for money in a letter, and Prabhupada said, this is malacha money. If I give it to you, you'll become contaminated.
Exactly, but Prabhupada said it because of Puri Maharaj saying that he wouldn't eat Jamuna's cooking.
That's why I'm saying
Prabhupada was eating Jamuna's cooking.
Right.
And she was offering it to Puri's deity. So when he made a big fuss and basically ended up more or less inviting them to leave his ashram, she had fixed everything up nicely. It was very beautiful because she was an expert pujari, unlike Puri Maharaj. And it became very nice. So when he left, Prabhupada, needless to say, I mean, Puri Maharaj, who knows what his intention was, but Prabhupada was obviously, and Prabhupada is very kind and compassionate and overlooks everything. But it was obvious that Puri Maharaj's intent was to insult Prabhupada. That he has accepted these unworthy people to be disciples, and now you've got a flock of hippies around you, and so what? What's the good that's going to come out of that? They're pretending to do devotional service. They're pretending to chant Hare Krishna mantra kirtan. But actually, they're just hippies and they're just mulattoes. They don't have any status in our world. And Prabhupada was sort of below that world too, because he was a householder and stuff like that. And people just didn't look up to him at all. So much they didn't look up to him that when it came time to sign a document, all the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati signed a document swearing that they would never utilize for themselves the word, the title Prabhupada. Prabhupada was not invited to sign, which is interesting, huh? Prabhupada didn't sign that document. They didn't ask him to sign it. They didn't imagine that he would ever make an issue. Why would Abhay Charan, why would he need to sign a document not to be Acharya? So they left him off the list. So of all the people, he may have been one of the only disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who didn't sign. Therefore, he introduced that we could call him Prabhupada in Boston in 1968 to Govinda Dasi, her husband, and a few others like that. Isn't that amazing? So Prabhupada became Prabhupada by default. When I put on the first Mayapur festival in 72, was it 72 first Mayapur festival?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not sure. 72 or 73, but I think it was 72. I had a big sign built, I told you about. I had found a sign paper that Chidananda said was impossible to find. And a big sign painted, and it showed the Mayapur temple that Prabhupada had designed in London, that I'd rendered out with him and Onshore Prime, and I worked on it together and made architectural drawings, just sketches of what it would look like, the temple. And then when I went to India, we had that sketch, and then Prabhupada asked me to, well, he sent me to India first, much to my displeasure, because I was having a wonderful, wonderful time with him in Africa, with only about 400 or 500 devotees in the world with there. I was one of them, young. And so anyhow, I was sent to Calcutta, which annoyed me. Had to go to the Calcutta temple, which was a very annoying place to be, with Jai Pataka being an ultra annoying temple president. And yeah, it was not nice at all. And then I had to try to figure out how to get the materials, and nobody wanted to help me. They just gave me rough directions. And I finally found a place where I could find little like model making materials to make the scale model of the temple for crafts and stuff like that somewhere near Chowrangi. Then I tried to get back by bus, and I couldn't because it was so crowded with people. There were people hanging onto the windows from the outside of the bus and hanging onto the pole of the British style bus. They were hanging out, there were 10 of them hanging onto each other. And so I couldn't get back to the temple. Finally, I got back very late after all the rush was over, because I spent all my money. I couldn't take a taxi. I spent it all on materials. I had no money to spend for a taxi, or a rickshaw. So anyhow, there it goes. And then Prabhupada, I wrote on that sign with the picture of the temple, scale model of the temple, is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So I wrote that. And when Prabhupada went out, we all went out on a morning walk. And coming back, this sign was on the corner of our property near Bhaktisiddhanta Road. And Prabhupada saw the sign. He was amazed. It was a beautiful sign with a big picture of the Mayapur temple that he helped design, that was his basic concept. And we went up to it, and he started reading his founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He turned around and his eyes got huge. He turned on his cane and his eyes were huge and said, "Oh," he said, "my God brothers will kill me."
He said that to you.
To all of us who were in the party on the morning walk.
Wow. My God, brothers will kill me. Wow.
Yeah. And so I thought he was just saying that, you know.
Hmm.
But it turns out, I learned from Keshava decades later, that Keshava and a bunch of others in Calcutta were sent for to be bodyguards of Prabhupada in case they did try to kill him.
Yes, yes.
So it was actually a real danger.
Anyways, you answered Keshav Prabhu's question. I mean, not Keshav Prabhu, Christopher Prabhu's. Christopher and Keshav.
Is Krishna not Keshava?
Christopher Prabhu's question. So, Christopher Prabhu, if you have any more questions, you can ask or you can participate next time. You participated last time. So I'm seeing if there's any more questions.
Was he satisfied with the answer?
Christopher Prabhu put, "Whoa, this is wonderful information. Also really disheartening because 99% of Sankirtan I see all over the world is what looks like sincere people chanting different melodies."
Yes. So then let's imagine World Sankirtan. Everybody gets into one big arena, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe 1 million people standing there, all chanting different melodies. Does that sound good?
It's gonna be pathetic.
Yeah, that's what happened at the Tower of Babel. They were building a tower. Actually, I think they took the story of the Tower of Babel from the Ramayana, because that's Kamsa built a tower like that too, to go to the heavenly planets, right?
Right.
Kamsa
Ravan.
No, not Kamsa, no, Ravan built a tower to go up to the heavenly planets. He was trying to prove how great he was, that he could do more than the worshippers of God.
Right.
So in the tower, in the Bible, the Tower of Babel was being built because they wanted to all go up to heaven without praying, but to go up by tower. But when they went up there, they all became struck by a sort of curse, and they all came down from the tower speaking different languages. And according to the Bible, that's where Judeo-Christian Bible, that's where the different languages of the earth came from. Of course, we know that all the languages come from Sanskrit or from animal sounds. That's what Prabhupada said. But in their fanciful little stories in the Bible, they came down and they couldn't build the tower because they couldn't communicate with each other.
They got cursed.
Yeah, they were cursed by God not to try to get to heaven by building a tower. And they ended up unable to even talk to each other because they spoke different languages now.
I mean, that's what they're doing now still too.
So what?
The gurus are doing that. They're speaking different languages than Srila Prabhupada. That's what they're cursed too. The gurus in Iskcon.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's again the problem, isn't it? So they're doing a good job of making people follow the Four Regular Principles, right? And most of them. At least that's what's required for initiation.
Well, the gurus themselves are not following, so I don't know about the disciples.
well, probably the disciples more than the gurus.
Yeah, the disciples are better than the gurus. You're right.
Yeah, so that doesn't matter, because you see, it doesn't matter their false flaws, which are so many that I could write a whole book about them, maybe several books, about the flaws of the Iskcon gurus. What I want to say, though, is that it's not the Iskcon gurus' flaws, it's that they have maintained the temples, that they are keeping people there, supposed to follow the regulated principles, supposed to eat prasadam, supposed to use recipes that are pleasing for Krishna, and play mridangos and kartals and whatnot. And then they play bogus melodies. Well, that has to be corrected. But the Kanista Adhikari is not an Uttama Adhikari. He's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We can't expect much of them. So the Iskcon gurus are attempting to become Kanista Adhikaris. To actually be Kanista Adhikari and have a spiritual master like Prabhupada, you should follow him cent percent, 100%. So you can see they're not, by giving up the direction of management, they cease to be disciples. By becoming gurus appointed by the bogus GBC, they became not disciples. So you could say that none of the gurus are disciples because they've been appointed by people that disobeyed Prabhupada.
Yeah, Prabhupada heavily criticizes this mentality of voting for gurus in the Chaitanya Chaitamrita. Yeah.
Really, what does he say?
He said, they elected an acharya, then he fell down, and then they elected another one. So this is not the process.
Oh, the Gaudiya Math.
Yes, the Gaudiya Math. So everything that we've been discussing has been discussed in the what we're discussing, the Vashishtas. So everything is
Falgun Krishna Panchami.
Yeah, Falgun Krishna Panchami. Yes, it's everything is repeating in Iskcon. It's a repeat.
This is take 2 of the Falgun Krishna Panchami.
Yeah, in 2021.
In 2021, 1961 to 2021, and the years are not as important. What is really important is that obviously Iskcon has gone way beyond anything the Gaudiya Math achieved.
Of course, now. Yeah. Yes.
Even now.
Right. No
and
comparison.
It's not because Prabhupada was greater than his guru. He wasn't. His guru is Uttama Adhikari. He worshipped his guru. He can't say Prabhupada thought he's better. Prabhupada never said, I'm not greater than my guru. Right?
Yes. He never said that.
Never said it, never thought it, never meant it. In fact, in the beginning of Falgun Krishna Panchami, he says, I'm filled with grief at the absence of my guru.
Yes, yes.
So it's not what the guru is able to accomplish, but what Prabhupada accomplished was has greater global significance 1,000,000 times over, with all the millions of books published, everything. This is all done by Malachas, by the people making gurus. Look at your friend in Silicon Valley.
Vaisheshika,
yes. How many books has he distributed? You'll go back to God just for distributing books. But then you have to take a delay of going back to God because they were changed books. But the thing is, the point is that these are all good things. In Hebrew, Jewish people call it a mitzvah, or auspicious deed, or auspicious act, a mitzvah.
Right.
These are all mitzvahs.
Right.
These are all good things that have been done. Are they perfect? Far from it. Did they misunderstand? In so many ways. Can it be rectified? Easily.
Sure. Easily, very easily.
How it will be rectified? How will it be rectified?
You have to burn the GBC building with all of them inside.
No. You and I and Lakshmi and Christopher and all of us, we will rectify it.
The public will.
Yeah. Yes. Madhu.
Jai.
Everybody, we will rectify it.
Krishna. Jai.
Yes. So, are we complete, or is there anybody? Does Lakshmi have any questions?
No, Prabhu. I'm just listening all your speech.
Were you able to understand everything?
Not everything, but I'm trying my best.
No problem.
Okay, just tell me one thing. Just tell me one thing you did not understand. Because I think you did understand everything. But anyhow, If you hadn't understood everything, I would have felt it. Put it
No,
this way,
I
understand,
also
you
find,
understand and accept. So accepting and understanding is very next door neighbors.
okay. Like
But
I got the
anyhow,
point with
but
the
is,
Kanishta and Uttamadhikari that you explained.
Oh,
But
you. Mhm.
mhm. But I
So you don't.
always have. Go ahead.
You said you have not understood the three categories of devotees: the Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari. Is that what you said, or parts of
I
it?
understood. I understood, but the question I will always have like how to identify that they are Uttamadhikari. That's
Mm.
that's the point. I mean, I'll always have that question, how to identify. Even if they are, yeah, that's the confusion I have. Like I don't know how to accept, how to identify them.
good. I'll give you a brief answer, but Ramachandra Prabhu, can you synthesize her question so that I can easily answer it?
She said, "I will always have a question to figure out who is an Uttamadhikari. How can I know when someone is an Uttamadhikari
Position.
Well,
devotee
that is an
position?"
easy one. That's easy to answer, Lakshmi Prabhu. When you go to Krishna Loka, they're all Uttamadhikaris.
No, she's talking about now. If a guru comes, or I mean, I mean, I rejected the idea of accepting anyone except Srila Prabhupada as an Uttamadhikari devotee. Maybe they are present, but for me, Srila Prabhupada is it. He's the
Well,
um,
if anybody on Prabhupada's level were here, including anybody in the Iskcon movement, like Iskcon gurus, they would be doing different things than they're doing.
yeah, they're all participating in the church cult.
Yeah, they'd be exploding with Krishna consciousness, not simply maintaining temples and increasing.
Right.
Yeah.
okay.
Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada says about his godbrothers, in the matter of businessmen, you are accepting disciples, meaning
Yes.
it's good business to have disciples. And if you're a materialist by nature, you say, this is a great business, the disciple business. And I'll tell them the truth. I've read Prabhupada's books. I'll tell them the truth. I'll try not to lie to them. I will try to tell them everything right.
But I'll put my spin on it.
But what they will not realize is that on what they say, well, Prabhupada's words are absolute, therefore it doesn't matter what my realization is. But the problem is, Prabhupada's words can be understood from the lower, middle, and higher platform. And the gurus are supposed to be teaching from the highest platform. But they're not. Iskcon gurus are not. Why? Because they're not even Madhyamadhikaris. Madhyamadhikari is very easy to distinguish because he's completely separate from the world entirely, not just by taking sannyas, but by consciousness. He is not touching material energy with his mind or body.
Forget Madhyamadhikari. Madhyamadhikari in Iskcon means nothing because a Madhyamadhikari cannot function under these rules and regulations of
Yeah, they wouldn't.
corporatization. Yeah,
Wonderful.
you
Your point is brilliant. There would be no Madhyamadhikaris in Iskcon possible because they wouldn't be able to handle it. It's just like Vidura, when Vidura was quite possibly a Madhyamadhikari, when Vidura couldn't handle it anymore, he had to leave the Kurus.
Right.
So if there was
Leave
a
the association.
Madhyamadhikari in Iskcon, he wouldn't be able to handle it. He'd have to leave.
Right. Right.
And do what? Whatever, do whatever he could, either as a devotee or a disillusioned man or something. But he would have to leave. You're right. So, very good point. Excellent point. Extraordinarily excellent point. So the Madhyamadhikaris, no, they not in Iskcon. And the Kanishta are so dull that they think they're Madhyamadhikaris. They may even think they're Uttamadhikaris. Who knows what they think they are. But as Gopal Krishna said, most erroneously, for a guru, I should say, he said, when I asked about the question, as this Jaiva Dharma to help us understand the difference between Madhyama, Kanista Madhyama, and Uttamadhikari, he said no, he went into a whole extra hour lecture to discredit that idea, saying that we cannot do that because it would create envy in our society. I said, why? Everybody's going to say, who's that, an Uttamadhikari, or is that a Madhyamadhikari, or is he just a lowly Kanistadhikari? You know, I mean, what is he thinking? And all the devotees there in Saranagati looked at me scowlingly like, what are you trying to do, create trouble or what? The guru said you're going to make trouble by making those distinctions. What Gopal Krishna may or may not have understood, but which nobody there understood, is, have you yet become a Kanistadhikari in Saranagati? Never mind Madhyam, of course not. Uttama, out of the question. So let's just say, are you making advancement as a Kanistadhikari? Are you getting out of the Aniya Balasha Bij towards the Jnana Karma Bij, trying to cultivate the Bhakti Lata Bij? If you want to become a Uttamadhikari or Madhyamadhikari, the Bhakti Lata Bij is the essential ingredient. Or so says Lord Chaitanya. And who's going to argue with Lord Chaitanya on the subject of Bhakti, considering he's Radha and Krishna himself?
Okay, I have another question. Like
Go
I
ahead.
used to,
Hey,
I
and
used to
Lakshmi,
listen.
thank you for your participation. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. I just have last question. So I used to listen on Bhagavatam classes on YouTube, Pravachan. Um, so in that I have heard like Krishna likes more only Uttamadhikaris, not Madhyama or Kanista, right? Is that true?
Ramachandra, can you help me with that?
Yes, Lakshmi Prabhu is saying that she was listening to Bhagavad lectures or classes, and in those classes she is hearing that Krishna loves more Uttamadhikari devotees. Is that it, Lakshmi?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And why? Because the Uttamadhikari is in his rasa with Krishna. Like I've given the example, if I'm Madhyamadhikari and I'm fanning Krishna, I don't know what it's like. I can't see Krishna. It's dark because I'm covered by the material universe, and it's dark inside the coconut shell. I'm fanning Krishna. I don't know if he likes it or not. But when it becomes clear that to Krishna and me that he when I feel that he likes it, and when Krishna is in ecstasy being fanned by me, fat chance, I'm fanning Krishna, then the Krishna Maya rolls up and I can see Krishna face to face in my rasa with Krishna. So the Uttamadhikari is in his rasa with Krishna. That's like Prabhupada. I spoke to Siddhanta Saraswati, Thakur Bhakti Vinod, Gaurkishore Das Babaji.
Yeah, so it's a better way to understand it is that they're in their spiritual body and they have attained perfection.
And they're in their spiritual reciprocal relationship with Krishna without it being like I'm standing there with incense offering something that may or may not be good enough for Krishna to eat as an offering.
Right. So they have direct contact with Krishna. And,
yes, it's in direct contact. So whether or not that devotee is manifesting pastimes like Prabhupada did, as Prabhupada did on planet Earth, walking in the sand of this planet, the dust of this planet, or whether he's in his rasa with Krishna as who? A coward boy? Who knows what sort of rasa is his rasa? It doesn't matter because Rupa Manjari came here. She is one of the, she is in direct contact with Krishna. Indirect direct contact. No one's in, let's just say indirect contact with Krishna, Rupa Manjari. And, but when she comes to planet Earth, she comes as Rupa Goswami, who wrote the Falgun Krishna Panchami. No, who wrote the Upanishadamrita.
Yes,
This is written by a demigod, written by a goddess who's practically next door to Krishna in Krishna Loka, has written the Upanishadamrita. So you can see Krishna loves that person more than the Madhyamadikari, because the Madhyamadikari is trying, but it's not yet succeeded, and more than the Kanisadikari, because the Kanisadikari is trying the best he can to not make it an ass of himself, not to make a fool of himself. Because everything he does comes from the material mentality towards the spiritual mentality. The Uttamadikari has no material mentality, and the Madhyamadikari is free from material mentality, but he has not yet developed full bhakti. So don't look for it anywhere in America or Europe or anything like that. But we're going to create the possibility for the Madhyamadikaris to begin to emerge, because we will make an atmosphere that is not toxic for the Madhyamadikari, meaning the Iskcon Guru claimed to be the successor to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, the successor to Prabhupada has to be an Uttama Adhikari, not a disciple.
But even if Uttamadikari comes, what will he do? The books have been published, the books have went out. So
Exactly.
I mean, what will they do? If
mission accomplished. The job has been done.
Yeah.
We don't need another Uttama Adhikari.
I mean, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come already. So, I mean, the teachings are there. So why would he come again? I mean,
We have Lord Chaitanya, we have the Upanishad, we have the introduction to the Gita, we have Gita, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. What's missing?
Nothing.
I am missing. I'm missing.
Right.
Yeah. But aside from that, nothing is missing. It's all complete for 10,000 years. And take into account 10,000 years, it's been 5,000 years since the end of Kali Yuga,
right.
The beginning of Kali Yuga, end of the Dwapara Yuga. And so 10,000 years is not that much time. Practically, there are lots of artifacts that are more than 1 million years old that you can find, anthropologists or archaeologists can find. So 10,000 years is not a great deal of time, particularly since we are educated, intelligent, and English speaking. Because my prediction is that this movement will go down by the end of Kali Yuga. All the devotees will be preaching and speaking only English, for the simple reason, how else can they understand Prabhupada's lectures and things? That makes sense? Are you talking? I can't hear you.
I said Jahi, yes. English only.
Prabhupada spoke in English. He's the last Acharya, so everybody at damn well better learn English for the next 10,000 years.
Lakshmi, what is your mother tongue? Hindi, English? I mean,
No,
Telugu?
it's Kannada.
Oh, Kannada. Acha.
Kannada.
You understand Hindi also?
Yeah, I understand, but not fluent. But yeah, manageable.
बात कर सकते हैं हिंदी में.
Lakshmi, don't take offense when I say English, because I'm not talking about today or tomorrow or next week or next year or the next 10 years or the next 50 years. I'm talking about 10,000 years.
10,000 years.
Yeah, because the soul is eternal. So.
And besides which, I will add to Benedict, all of us on this, who's still on this YouTube, I'd like to benedict all of us will be there preaching in English. We'll all be there. We're not going back to Godhead until everybody is delivered.
Joy.
Why salvation? What, I'm going to go back to Godhead and everyone else can go to hell, literally? No. We want everyone to go back to Godhead, then we'll be qualified. How can we go back to Godhead if we leave everyone behind? But that's the bad part. The good part is that as we advance, we will be experiencing such transcendental mood of pure, unalloyed love of God that our being on earth and in each other's association, goodness knows, Lakshmi, Ramachandra, myself, and all of the Shravan, we will all be taking different bodies, different genders, different everything, different ranks of kings or whatever, or priests. Will be so many things, but the same jivas, you see.
Right.
And we shouldn't regret it because we're not a salvationist movement. Prabhupada said back to home, back to Godhead. And people wouldn't have joined if he hadn't said that. But everyone who chants Hare Krishna once, even mocking us, will eventually go back to Godhead, which you might say, well, wouldn't that happen to anyone? No. People take hundreds of millions, billions, quadrillions of births and never go back to Godhead. They've come from Krishna Loka and now they're stuck here for quadrillions of births. We're very, very lucky. Hare Krishna Prabhus.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Is that okay,
Jai.
Lakshmi Zaji? So you can give your mercy to everyone for 10,000 years if you like. And see, you'll like it because it'll be so nice kirtans, such wonderful prasadam, such extremely wonderful experience to see all the germs, the ants, the plants, the trees, the cows, the donkeys, the elephants, all going back to Godhead, not just humans. It will be quite an experience.
Jai. So thank you everyone for attending this wonderful program. So we'll continue the
Hare Krishna.
Vashishta tomorrow.
Next Vashishta. Joy. Haribol.
And-
Goodbye.
Jai Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And Lakshmi, we relish your association.
Jai.